Hello and welcome to Rolling with Two. I'm Will, and with me as always is the person who runs my waddle,
Sarah.
And today we're doing a two-player perspective and accessibility for Deep Dive. It has penguins.
Yes, a group of penguins
is called a waddle.
Well, that's one of the names.
They have like a tuxedo. I like that.
I wanted a tuxedo of penguins. That would have been cool.
All right. Tell us a bit about this game.
All right, Deep Dive is a press your luck set collection game in which you use your waddle of penguins to dive deep into the ocean to amass the most bountiful collection of food. As you dive deep, each depth has more valuable food, but also more predators. When you surface with food, you will build sets of 3 colors. Make full sets to get maximum points from the tiles. Once one of the depths has been fully explored, the game ends, and the penguin waddle with the best set of food wins. All right, Will, so how do the rules change for 2 players?
So for 2 players, you will choose the number of the set of tiles to play with. So 4, 5, and 6 have some extra tiles that get thrown in. Otherwise, 1, 2, and 3 have a main set. Once you have that set, you will then take out a number of tiles for each of the depths, the 5 different depths. So quite a bit of setup there for a 2-player. There is no bot. However, there is a bot for, I think, solo play.
Yeah, solo play does have a little AI penguin.
But not for 2 players.
Right. Okay, so issues at a 2-player count. No, couldn't see any. Okay, so what it does well at 2 players. You know, since they did such in-depth setup,
yes,
they made it scale so well to the different player counts that the game is kind of almost player count neutral. So usually we say, okay, well, if you're playing at 2 players, this aspect is worse or this aspect is better than other player counts. While we haven't played it at other player counts, at 2 players, it just feels good. Like,
yeah, you're probably playing the same type of gaming experience as you would with any other player count.
Because higher player counts have more tiles.
Yes.
Because you have more people.
Yes.
So yeah. Okay, let's move on to accessibility. And this is where we do have problems. So color is unfortunately not going to be accessible to most people. And I'm not talking most colorblind people. I'm talking about just most people in general who do not have colorblind issues. You will most likely have trouble with yellow and green. The yellow they picked is very green.
It got to a point where Sarah's like, is that yellow? And if she asked herself that question, then it was yellow.
Yeah.
Because when the green came out, she goes, oh yeah, that's green.
Right. It was very bizarre that how I knew which color it was whether I was questioning what color it was. That was the weirdest feeling I've ever had. I've never had that in a game before. Now, so this is unfortunately a problem for sighted people who, fully sighted in terms of, you do not have colorblind accessibility issues. Unfortunately, for those who do have colorblind accessibility challenges, you will probably have even more trouble with yellow and green, or we've also heard green and pink. Our friend Brian Chandler from colorblindgames.com kindly shared these pictures of how he had to modify it because he couldn't tell anything apart from anything, and the Kickstarter version has wild tokens. He also had trouble with the wilds.
Because they were all blended fish.
Right.
Colors.
So he ended up having to mark everything but the yellow. So yellow was plain.
Yeah. Pink had a dot.
Yeah.
He did a line for green, and then he wrote a W for wild.
Right. And that was the only way that he could make it fully accessible to play with. And
But the color problems don't stop there.
No. So the wilds, if you got a Kickstarter copy of it, some people, not everybody, but unfortunately for us, we do. Our wilds have slightly different backs than the base game. I'm not exactly sure if the picture shows it well, but under normal light when we're playing at the table, I can 100% pick the wilds out because the back is just slightly a different shade than the color backs of that level. So what we did is a relatively simple solution if you have 5 bags, cloth bags, anything that's going to be solid. As designers, we have lots of bags. So
Also pretty cheap on Amazon.
and you can get a pretty cheap collection.
Some pretty blue ones.
Yeah, just it's helpful if they're different colors.
Yeah.
But even then, you're going to be laying them out. So as long as you so basically, you put each level in a bag. You lay it out as you would have normally if the tiles were just face down and shuffled around. But now the interesting part is this fixed another accessibility thing is that if the tiles were just face down, I'd still have to pick up a tile for Will because he literally wouldn't be able to reach over and grab one.
Yeah. Or see where she'd be able to know that's the wrong depth. You need
Right.
to go to depth 2, not depth 3. I'm like, over here? Yeah, that's close enough. Okay, you got one. But now she just hands me the bag and like, here's depth 2. All right, grab one. Boom.
And the nice thing is it makes Will involved so that I also don't feel like I'm playing for him by picking up a tile for
Let's
him.
just say it was very suspicious why I didn't get any wild tokens.
Okay, I don't know how that happened. I ended up keep taking the wild tokens. Anyways, bags are a solution for the wild tokens, and like I said, it actually made setup faster because you just throw all the tiles in the bags and then you can pass the bags around. I imagine in a 6-player game, bags would be a lot easier because you have a lot of people around the table. A lot of people are not going to be able to reach one depth or another. And if it's in a bag, because you only pick up one depth at a time, you pick up the bag, hand it over, they take a tile, they hand you the bag back. So I think bags are a way to just make it really accessible and solve that issue for a lot of things.
Yes.
Another challenge might be, again, color issues, the player pieces. Some of those colors are really close to each other. I mean, they did purple and red, and I can't remember all the other colors. It's on the screen right now, hopefully. They did 3 different shapes, but everybody got one of each of the shapes.
So you can't just say, okay, everybody has the laying down penguin.
Yeah. So the good news is it's just 3 pieces. So you can hopefully go find 3 other substitute pieces. If anything, go grab a very basic Euro game and you get 3 meeples of a whatever color. 3 meeples are going to be very different than penguins. Sad part, of course, you're not playing with penguins.
Well, the other thing I pointed out to Sarah is, honestly, those penguins can stay right in front of you the entire time. Because what happens is, when you get to a certain level and you run across a predator, that's when a penguin token is used. It goes on top of that tile to show that the penguin is distracting that predator. Just keep those in front of you.
Right. And when you go to your third one would get trapped by a predator, then you look at the depths of tiles in front of you and you're going to, pick
Food.
from one of those 3 levels. So it still works. It's a little more distant.
Yes.
But you can also just keep your 3 penguins in front of you as what, like Will said.
Right.
So it can work. So the good news is there are some workarounds. The problem is going to be whether or not you feel confident or comfortable marking up your tiles, because I know a lot of people do not like modifying their tiles. It's just unfortunately a lot of colorblind players have to modify their games to even play them. So it's just one of those things that's now a wider problem for people who don't consider themselves to have color issues.
Yes.
There are some good things. So what it does right is on the backs of each of the
Depth.
you have a dots. So depth 1 has 1 dot, depth 2 has 2 dots, all the way to 5 has 5 dots. So you don't have to rely on the very close shades of blue, because I even mixing them up, if I'm just looking at the shades, I can easily put tiles in the wrong places. So use the dots to separate them. The value of the food tiles are also easy to read. There's a little background with the number, and so it's very easy to see. And the rules are easy to learn. This is not a cognitively complicated game. It is nice and light, so you're not going to have any problems there.
Right.
All right, conclusion.
For 2 players, would you recommend?
I say yes. I think this is going to be one of those games that scales pretty well for all player counts.
Yeah, it was a quick, refreshing game. I didn't mind pulling it out on the table and asking to play for it.
Yeah.
I can see that being the case.
Yeah.
But accessibility.
This is a sad one because I'm not really sure I can recommend it on any level for accessibility challenges, visual accessibility challenges, even for sighted people. I mean, I had a problem. I had constantly questioned whether I'd actually drawn a yellow tile. And then I had to say, yes, I drew a yellow tile because I'm questioning whether it's a yellow tile. And that is a very weird feeling. So, no.
Yeah, and from the sound of it, so Brian, we mentioned from
Colorblind.
Games, he was talking with the designers, and apparently this came from their partnership. It kind of got pushed through way too quickly.
Yeah.
So things that they would have normally fixed just didn't happen here.
Right. This
sadly.
unfortunately was on a fast track to production. And so by the time they started getting the final graphic design feedback, it was unfortunately a bit too late. So I can only hope, with all this overwhelming feedback, that if there's ever a second printing, that it's fixed for that. So at least future players will not have to struggle, because you shouldn't have to struggle in any game, but especially a light game like this.
Right.
It slowed down the game.
Yeah.
And nobody wants that in a fast, quick, just light filler game.
Yeah. It's like, oh, hey, you want to go out shopping? Well, first you have to do this math test.
Oh, no.
And most people are going to go, no, thank you. I am just going to be a hobo and live here. I do not have to shop for anything. So, all right, Sarah. Now, I have an interesting question, or interesting thing, and I want to hear your opinion on it.
All right.
What about recommending this game for people to pick up so that they more can empathize with those with colorblind issues?
That's a good point. I think there's still a long way to go for the wider populace to, well, understand the struggles that people with vision challenges go through. The fact that they're constantly questioning, is this the color I think it is? Because a lot of people, and I don't have colorblind issues, but from talking to Will and other people, you do start to try to understand shades and what you do see and try to identify them as certain colors. So if you say, I think that's whatever, green, and someone else says, no, that's actually pink, you can maybe start to learn and say, okay, I think that's green. Oh, wait, no. Whenever I think something like this is green, it's not green, it's pink. But that's that extra layer of translation. I almost think it's a bit akin to when you try to learn another language. Sometimes you can't, well, think in that other language, so you have to think in your native language, translate it into the foreign language, and this is kind of that same thing.
Or in the case of your analogy, this might be immersion into that given language of, okay, now this is what it feels like to be colorblind.
Right. I mean, you can look at articles where maybe they've taken photos and put it through a process to show you what something looks like. But you read that article once and you're done, and you're never going to read that article again. But this game...
And it doesn't have the same impact of, I'm trying to have fun, and these issues are getting in the way of that.
Yeah.
How do I overcome that?
Yes.
So I just figured that, I mean, it's a cheap enough game, and it's a nice design. It's a nice design. Mechanically, I like it, but I think it suffers from its production. So
agreed. So if you want a learning experience, a immersion experience of what exactly is the experience colorblind people face when playing board games, this can give it to you. I mean, if you can see yellow just fine, just dim the lights.
Yeah.
And then you will not be able to see yellow just fine. So yeah, I think that's a great point, Will.
All right. And why would you ever waddle with just one when you can be waddling with two? And remember, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can reach out to us on the various social media platforms at
Rolling with Two. That's TWO. We are on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And on YouTube, please like and subscribe.
And if you have time, check out the other content Nanaman has found for you, because remember, he's rolling with you.